Welcome to the Dallas Cowboys Daily Fantasy Team Preview. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Russell Clay. Taking a look at a Cowboys team that really was injured pretty badly throughout the 2015 season. Looking to stay healthy this year. Obviously, the addition of Ezekiel Elliott's going to help out a pretty lackluster offense last year. Where do you kind of see this thing going in 2016?
Much more 2014 than 2015. I mean, we've seen this before. When Tony Romo gets hurt or injured, he's very good. You know, he's a really, really good quarterback, and any replacement level quarterback like Matt Castle or Kellen Moore isn't going to come in and sort of replace that. We obviously saw Dez struggling with injuries the entire year, and then eventually struggling. And then getting a major injury and dying off like a dinosaur hundreds of millions of years ago. But he should be back. He looks great in preseason. And I expect this offense to be top 10, if not closing in on the top 5 in terms of, total offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, best case scenario here, everyone stays healthy and they're in for another top 10 offense a year. Obviously, I mean, when Romo's healthy, he's a guy who's a fine fantasy option, kind of always in that mid-range for pricing, always involved in those NFC East shootouts, playing in home in that stadium. Pretty easy strength of schedule for the Cowboys here. I mean, the fourth easiest on the board. Obviously the NFC East, but they have some winnable games. I mean, on the road at San Francisco and Cleveland. I think this offense, in addition to who they play, is going to have a pretty solid year.
Oh, you didn't hear? The 49ers have Chip Kelly now there, pal. So they're going to go 16-0 and win the Super Bowl. I don't know. We haven't gotten to the NFC West yet, so obviously you weren't informed of that fact, That's okay, though.
Thanks for giving us a little sneak peek. I was not aware of that. I know Chip Kelly's a football god wherever he goes.
Yeah. It's just going to be like at the University of New Hampshire. He's going to come in. That offense is going to blow the doors off oh, wait, that didn't happen at all in Philadelphia. Oh, boy. So back to this running game. Obviously, they draft Zeke Elliott, number 4 overall. Tremendous prospect out of Ohio State. One of the best we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years, other than Todd Gurley, who's an absolute savagely tremendous Hall of Fame talent. Zeke checks all the boxes: production, athleticism, size, draft position, abs. He's handsome. So, I mean, he's pretty much got it all. So he's got a tremendous offensive line. Year one, I have trouble trusting most rookie running backs year one, but like we saw with Todd Gurley last year, if the talent's there, it usually works out, and I think Zeke's going to get tons of touches. Going to be a week-to-week cash guy for me, I think.
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement. I mean, as that offense, goes, how do you not run the ball a ton with this offensive line and use Elliott? I mean, you drafted him inside the top 5. You're going to use him like a top 5 player. So, obviously, I do expect this team to be pretty balanced, and I do expect them to be really efficient. So while Romo might not, throw a ton, because the running game is so strong, because Des Bryant's healthy, and they do have a couple other secondary options like a Terrence Williams and Witten who can still be productive, I think the efficiency takes a huge jump in 2016.
Huge jump. And that's kind of what they were missing. Obviously, I mean, we saw Darren McFadden run for 1,000 yards behind this line. And, I mean, a lot of people say a lot of bad things about Darren McFadden, but we saw the 2 years he had a stable situation, that one in Oakland, 1.5 years in Oakland, and last year, obviously. He's still a nice backup, in my opinion. And if something does happen to Zeke, or he is a rookie, so if things happen, I mean, McFadden's going to be that guy you kind of look at as well.
Yeah, definitely think so. I mean, as far as a backup situation, definitely a guy who will keep an eye on, who will step into an immediate role and behind a nice line, as we've mentioned, and produce. I mean, he'll be a great value for those weeks that he's priced down, if that ever happened. I mean, I think the biggest concern here is the fact that Romo is just injury prone. I mean, there's a possibility he goes down. It's not even something that's out of, that we can predict and say, oh, it's highly unlikely that it could happen. I kind of put it into a range of, well, it wouldn't shock me if he missed a couple games this year or even missed a long-term portion. So I think we can kind of look at those backup guys, and we were kind of talking that Prescott could be a thing if, something does happen to Romo.
Oh, yeah, he looked great yesterday, and he was a fourth-round pick, so it's not like super high upside, but I mean, we've seen crazier things in terms of emerging quarterbacks, and he obviously has that athleticism to sort of boost his floor in the sort of Tyrod Taylor mold.
Yeah, definitely, and I mean, overall, as far as Romo goes, I mean, how do you see using him this year? Is he going to be just more of a tournament guy that maybe you look to pair up with a Bryant?
I see him as, depending on the matchup, a cash game guy some weeks, but overall, I probably won't be using him a ton. But there will be weeks where he's just going to have the obvious matchup, and you stack him with Dez, like you said. Dez is really going to be the guy where you're kind of looking to use him just about every week.
Yeah, I think so too. And as far as the guys beneath him, I mean, Jason Witten's getting up there in age, but obviously with Romo back, I mean, still that does help his 2016 campaign. Terrence Williams, I mean, we saw him kind of sneak into a number one role, but obviously because he was dealing with quarterback issues last year, nothing really came about it. I think Terrence Williams is going to be an interesting flyer on a GPP basis, just given the fact that he's on the opposite side of Dez. He's just because of his price tag, he's going to be relatively cheap. I don't mind him as kind of that third wide receiver option when you're making lineups.
And again, he's that guy that you don't want to ever put in your lineup, but there's that upside where he could have that week of 3 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's there. We've seen it multiple times throughout his career, and I think you just kind of move forward saying, all right, well, I like Dez this week, but maybe I stack Romo and Terrence Williams in one lineup,
Right. And as far as Jason Witten goes, I don't think he's going to crack the tight end list for me a lot this year, just because there are so many other guys that I like. I mean, just a lot better. I don't even think he comes inside the top 10 for me.
I think his season-long stats will end up being top 10, but yeah, week to week, going to be tough to really gauge him.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, on an upside basis, I'm not quite sure it's there. And as you mentioned, I mean, come the end of the year, I think everything will pile up to look like decent numbers. But in terms of daily fantasy, it's not something I'm getting crazy about.
Right.
As far as this defense goes, middle of the road last year. I mean, obviously you have its hits and misses at times. I think they're a pretty average defense to target up in really in both aspects, running game and passing game. I'm okay with kind of targeting this Cowboys defense.
I think what we saw with 2014 again, where they just really slowed down the pace and bend but didn't break. That's kind of what we're going to see again. So it's going to be a slower pace. They're going to just ground and pound with that run game, and I mean that's what we're going to be seeing. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be back to 2014 is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think so, and Dan Bailey, one of the better FanDuel kickers out there. I'm going to give him some love.
Man.
That's going to wrap things up with our Cowboys Daily Fantasy Team Preview. Be sure to check out the rest of our teams at dailyfantasycafe.com.